welcome back. We are on day 2 talking about change your brain, change your grades. And I'm so excited and so happy. We've got Chloe here. Chloe is our 15-year-old daughter, and it's just such an honor to have her be part of this book. So yeah,
Thank you.
Today we're going to talk about brain types and how that affects your studying. So it's fun because we have Chloe part of the book, and we have our niece Alize is also part of the book.
Who you will meet coming up.
And in the second week, the second half of this, and they have their brains are exactly opposite. I mean, they couldn't be more opposite. So we should talk a little bit about that and how it affects them. They're both excellent students, and for opposite reasons, it could have affected them in very negative ways. So we should talk about that and how they've overcome, how you've overcome.
Well,
and
we actually talk about it. When we write that when we scanned Chloe, she had a very busy brain.
Very busy, very anxious.
And needed things a certain way.
Yeah, she could get really
so
stuck.
Having her place of study organized as she likes it, that fits, where Alice actually has a sleepy brain.
And can be very disorganized by nature.
That's not nearly as important to her, but it can also cause her great stress because both of them love doing well in school.
Right.
And they come at it from very different. So in the book, we talk about brain types, how everybody's brain is not the same, and that you should know your type and then work on optimizing.
Right. So we've come up with strategies to help Chloe. For example, there are certain supplements that help her to settle her down, like we'll talk more about that. Also her, like you touched on one of them, her workspace has to be a certain way. Chloe needs things to be very organized. She's sort of, she's less rigid now. When you were young, you were rigid.
Gotten better, yes.
Yeah. So she needs things to be organized, though. If you walk into Alize's room, it's a very different story. Her room looks completely different. That's not as important to her. But that can be a challenge for her because when things aren't organized, she can then get stressed out because she can't find things or she's running late. And so she had to learn how to work within her type as well.
Yeah.
Well, and what makes Change Your Brain, Change Your Grades different than virtually every other study book you could read is the foundational principle of Change Your Brain, Change Your Grades is get your brain right. And learning follows.
So
that if you don't take care of the physical functioning of your brain, so eating right, exercising, not using drugs, putting your brain in a healing environment is the number one most important thing to doing well.
So what do you think? What's been the best for you with your brain type?
So for me, the big thing, especially lately, just in the past year, because I'm a junior now, and sophomore and junior year, it gets real. Like it's just
the workload's heavy. Yes.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing I've had to overcome in this past year and going into this year now is balance. Because, you were just saying how we have very different, Alize and I even have very different brain types. It's a really good example because she has had to overcome certain aspects of naturally not quite being as rigid or not being as organized. And I'm naturally, very organized. But, one thing I've kind of learned is that for me, it's achieving balance because being super organized and being really rigid sometimes doesn't serve you in school either. Doesn't serve you in studying either because you're not going to be able to control everything. Your workspace is sometimes not going to be how you want it to be. It's not, it's not everything's going to go how you want it to go. Not all of your lessons are going to go how you want it to go.
It's a really good point.
Yeah, so being super organized by nature being organized is good. Wanting to be organized is good. But
being rigid is different.
Did you ever have this perfectionistic quality?
Yeah, not the same way she does, but we used to put flexibility on her chore chart.
Right.
Remember?
there comes a point when if you're too rigid and too organized and you're so stuck on it, your productivity actually starts to
go down,
decline because you get stuck on little things. And if you can't let go, one test missing those couple questions, it's like, I studied that. Why did I get it wrong? I shouldn't have got it wrong.
That was
you
me.
can't get past that, you're going to get tripped up on the next test too, because you can't get over that one. It's just,
So it's
That
looping.
was
It's
actually
looping,
me
right.
in college. If I got a 95 on a test, I could only focus on the 5% I missed. And so that's a very good point.
What did you say about perfection?
Yeah, perfectionism is an excuse to fail. So because especially for women, it's this, we get stuck in this loop of I have to do it perfectly, and if I can't do it perfectly, I'm not going to do it at all. I'm going to pick up my toys and go home. And so you end up not meeting your potential.
Well, and another really interesting thing about Chloe when we scanned her, so the front part of her brain was really busy, and so that can go with worry and trouble letting things go. But her cerebellum in the back bottom part of her brain was sleepy, and that's the processor in the brain. And we used to, more you than me, but used to get upset because she'd try a sport and then she'd quit because she couldn't be perfect. But she also struggled with the coordination part. And one of the big things is she then started dance.
And martial arts.
Dance and is a coordination exercise.
Right.
So actually working on the vulnerable area of your brain, strengthening that, I've just seen every other part of you get better.
Well, dance and martial arts
you
really
know,
helped.
The past year and a half, I've taken on doing so many different things that are not even related
Out of
to
your
each
comfort
other.
zone, too.
Out of my comfort zone. I'm like that I'm not naturally good at, and that it just doesn't just come easy. But something I want to add to what you were just saying is, for me, it's changing the actual thought. It's changing the perspective around it, because I'm not all these things that I've taken on. There are more opportunities to succeed, but there are also more opportunities to fail, right? So when I started taking on all these different things, I'm like, oh, but if I'm not good at that, or I'm not good today at this, or if I'm lacking in this area, that's a chance. I might fail at this. But what I had to do is just go into my thought, into my mindset, and change it to, okay, well, I didn't do as well as I wanted to today, but this is just basically a stepping stone to, the next step of what I'm going into. And I actually read it. What was the book? I don't remember what the book was. I'm kind of getting off topic now. But I read a book that had a really good reference, a really good line. And it basically said that you've improved when you are not as good at at a new thing, or at a new level of something that you started. Because if you're working in stages, and here's the bottom and here's the top, if you're working in different levels, in order to get to the top of one level, you have to start at the bottom. So you get to the top of one level, and then you start at the bottom of the next one, and then you work your way up to the top again, and you're
You're
at
not
the bottom.
supposed to be good when
So
you
that's
start.
how I've had to change it, because I'm like, every time I'd do something wrong, or I would quote unquote fail, and my first reaction is, I'm not good at this, right? Like I failed, I don't look good doing this. But then it's just like, deep breath, and it's just a change in mindset that's like, no, I'm at the next level. This failure means I'm at the next level, So that's just kind of, it's optimizing your thoughts too, a lot of it.
So mindset.
I love that.
Yeah.
It actually reminds me, last night we had 3 of our 5 grandchildren over swimming.
Oh my God, they're so
and
cute.
Haven is now a
Oh my
year
God.
old and so cute, but so busy. But
So
watching
busy.
her walk, and
She looks
she
drunk.
looks drunk.
Yeah.
And then she falls on her butt like a lot. But it doesn't bother her.
No, she laughs.
To fall, and then she just gets up and keeps going.
Yeah.
And you have to have your eyes on her all the
feels drunk,
time.
She just laughs.
But falling is a part of learning. So that's what you're learning.
Right.
And whenever people go, oh, I should be better, I'm no good at this, like a lot of you probably say that about learning languages. And so you don't try, therefore you're no good at it. And so using Chloe's perspective that it's about levels.
Right.
And if you're not doing well, you're at the next level. You're just at the bottom of the step of the next level.
But I'm at the next level
But
from
you're
where
at
I
the
was
next level.
before, right? Because if you're just good at it the entire time, you're probably not challenging yourself. And for me, if she knows anything about me, and if you know anything about me, I have to be challenged constantly
Yeah.
because I'm so like, I'm just naturally have to
Driven.
be
Yeah.
doing something all
That's
the time.
because
be
of your
good
frontal
at
lobes.
something.
Before we let this one get away, I want to talk about one of the most important things in the book besides getting your brain right, and that is getting your relationships right. Because I learned early on in school when I started doing well is that teachers or bosses are people too. And if you're rude to them, if you don't show up with your best self,
Yep.
they're going to lower your grade
If
or
you're on the
lower
board-
your promotion. So a trick I learned was I would actually, before the semester started, I would read my books and I would say to myself, the first month, I'm going to be so prepared and so kind and so present. Now, not being like a kiss ass. I'm
You
just,
kind of were.
no, I'm just like, I'm prepared.
Right. It's not a bad
Because
thing.
first impressions really do matter.
Right.
And so if they saw that I was a good student for that first month, the rest of the year they'd leave me alone.
Right.
They wouldn't pick on
So
me.
true.
But if I showed up unprepared, they would get that. Oh, Daniel's unprepared.
And that's
He
it.
doesn't care.
Right.
And getting rid of that first impression is just so hard.
Teachers, yeah.
You like being teacher's pet. You've always been teacher's pet.
Yes, you know what? A long time ago, it's
You made
all
peace
through
with it?
elementary school and middle school. It was like, oh, Chloe's a teacher's pet. She's friends with all the teachers. She has lunch with all the teachers. Okay, first of all, what's wrong with that? There's nothing
Having
wrong
lunch
with
with
that.
teachers.
I'm gonna get really off topic in a minute. But no. So I was always the teacher's pet. But I think that kind of adding to what Daniel was saying, how I saw it in my head is you want to be the teacher's pet, and because they like you for who you are and who you want to be, who you're bringing to the table, not because you're trying to be who they want you to be. And I've noticed teachers are like this. They don't actually like the kid who it's like, oh, tell me everything. Let's just tell the teacher what they want to hear, right? It's like they like the kid who comes in prepared and is confident in what they know and is confident and ready
Well,
to
they're
learn.
participating.
And they're
Prepared.
participating and they're ready to
They
learn.
One of
are
my professors
prepared.
that I had the best relationship with was the one I argued with the most. But it's because I was
Right.
prepared.
And not only that,
he
you're-
loved me
and
because
Is
not
that
only
why you
that,
argue
you're
with me all the
confident.
time?
yeah, because
Because of
he's
that
Teachers-
teacher?
The goal of a teacher, the teacher's job is to teach kids how to have their own thoughts and teach kids how to do well in the world. In order
Right.
to do well in the world, you need to use your own mind. And kind of just what I've learned is that if you can show them that you're confident in what you say without being,
Rude.
combative,
Mhm.
that they like that. They
Yeah.
like that you're willing to stand up for what you.
Right. Like I wouldn't be rude, but I was adamant he had to change one of the questions on our test because it was wrong.
Right.
And I had my notes.
When we come back, we're going to talk about nutrition and learning. It's so important.
So important.
And if you want to be entered into the raffle for a free copy signed of Change Your Brain, Change Your Grades, go to brainwarriorswaypodcast.com, leave us a comment, and in the subject line, put Change Your Brain, Change Your Grades, raffle. Also leave us a question.
If you're enjoying the Brain Warriors Way podcast, please don't forget to subscribe so you'll always know when there's a new episode. And while you're at it, feel free to give us a review or 5-star rating, as that helps others find the podcast.
If you're considering coming to Amen Clinics or trying some of the brain healthy supplements from BrainMD, you can use the code podcast10 to get a 10% discount on a full evaluation at amenclinics.com or a 10% discount on all supplements at brainmdhealth.com. For more information, give us a call at 855-978-1363.